Just start with the fact that he obstructed justice by firing the FBI head, James Comey, in order to shut down this Russian investigation. We already know it. The obstruction of justice case is very clear. He has been taking payments illegally from day one from foreign governments. We already have more than enough information to impeach this president and remove him from office. I think it's pretty clear that Mr. Flynn was doing improper things in his connection with Russia, his contacts with Russia, and that he was connected at the very top of the Trump campaign and the Trump administration. I don't think there's any question that this goes to the very top of the campaign and the administration. If you see one cockroach, you don't need to see 1,000 cockroaches to know you have cockroaches. What we're really looking for is for the voice of the American people to be raised to a loud enough level that our elected officials in Congress have to listen. Because I think the evidence is in and the evidence continues to mount. I'm Tom Steyer, and like you, I'm an American citizen who's concerned about the direction of the country under Donald Trump.
At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Check out Reverend Bill Miller's Bible study radio broadcast live on the new STMK Radio 100 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please listen in and support him as he joins the realm of broadcasting to encourage believers and offer the comfort of God to others across the airwaves. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100. Also, feel free to contact him for prayer, counseling, and conversation at brobill9608@yahoo.com. That's BROBILL9608@yahoo.com. At the Table with Reverend Bill Miller on STMK Radio 100.
This is Tassie Hawthorne from sunny California, and I listen to STMK Radio 100. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on Facebook Live.
This is Christina in Savannah. I listen to STMK Radio 100 on my way home from work. Every Thursday, they keep it 100.
STMK Radio 100. You're listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 with your host, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone on STMK Radio 100.
Yes, this is a PSA, a public street announcement. You are now listening to a Kickback production. Light up your L's, lean back, and listen.
The lies, the sanctimony, the arrogance, the hatred, the pettiness, the fake news. We are done with your agenda to undermine voters' will and individual liberty in America. So to every lying member of the media, to every Hollywood phony, to the role model athletes who use their free speech to alter and undermine what our flag represents, to the politicians who would rather watch America burn than lose 1 ounce of their own personal power, to the late-night hosts who think their opinions are the only opinions that matter, to the Joyanne Reeds, the Morning Joes, the Mikas, to those who stain honest reporting with partisanship, to those who bring bias and propaganda to CNN, the Washington Post, and the New York Times, your time is running out. The clock starts now. I'm going to say something that some people are going to say is controversial. So I'll say it really slowly so all the people on the platform in the back can hear me loud and clear. Many in legacy media love mass shootings. You guys love it. Now, I'm not saying that you love the tragedy, but I am saying that you love the ratings. Crying white mothers are ratings gold.
I feel like she isn't living in reality. How dare she? The mother of Scott Beagle, one of the teachers at my school, was talking about when the amendment was ratified. And she went off on a tangent about how there were more than just muskets at the time. That is so irrelevant. This isn't what this is at all. We don't care about that. We don't care at all. What we care is about seeing change and seeing it now. And I know that's what Scott Beagle's mother wants to see as well.
All these people should be at home grieving. But instead, we are up here, standing together, because if all our government and president can do is send thoughts and prayers, then it's time for victims to be the change that we need to see.
What we're seeing in the reaction to Parkland is the reaction I think a lot of us felt we should have seen after Sandy Hook. Unfortunately, it didn't happen then, but this momentum led by these young students down in Florida has been tremendous and overwhelming. So I think we can anticipate a change. And as someone, who's been involved in the Black Lives Matter movement and been very, very critical of police, but I just want to say this. I have some empathy for those police officers in Broward County. We need to hear their side of the story because I'm not certain that they knew how to handle that situation. Do you run into a burning building in that way? And it's interesting. Normally, the NRA are on opposite sides. They would defend police in all matters. But in this situation, they're attacking police because it hurts their argument of teachers having guns, which, by the way, is absurd. This is not something, I'm not certain this is something you can absolutely train for. More guns increases gun violence. So more guns, teachers having guns, not the solution at all. So I think we need to look at this, and I think people are finally saying we need some sensible solutions, and the solution is not bringing more guns into the equation. Well, I was a teacher, and I come from 3 or 4 generations of teachers in my family. It's absurd. And, some teachers don't have resources in the classroom that they need. They have to come out of pocket to even have some of those resources. Nobody's focused on having a gun. And I would imagine that many teachers are interested in teaching and not learning how to use a weapon and being trained to use a weapon. Not to mention this is the same argument that was used in the Aurora Theater shooting, that if we had more good guys with a gun, well, just like those cops, that's why we need to talk to those cops in Broward. If you show up and everybody's got a gun, and you don't know who has the gun, how do you know who the assailant is and who the good guys are? How are you able to discern that in a split second? So this doesn't solve the problem at all.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, SAXMAN is in Studio 51 with me. SAXMAN, tonight we're going to really keep it real right here. We're going to talk about common sense gun control. And you know, when you say common sense gun control, everybody just get all out of whack on that. You know that, right, SAXMAN?
I don't know. Common sense is a whole common sense. The word common sense itself to me is I can't think of the word I want to say, but I understand what you're saying, Sean.
Well, for real.
It's just mind-boggling how you say 18 years of age is not old enough to make adult decisions, old enough to own a weapon, but you're going and listening to 15 and 16 and 17-year-old students telling you how you should change the law. So isn't that kind of oxymoron? You're listening to kids giving you ideas on how to change the law, but you saying kids are not old enough and mature enough to make decisions.
Well, you know, when you look at this, our youths are really taking control, and I really feel good for them because they teaching activists and their parents, and they teaching and they taking it to the NRA, okay. And when you can't come to common sense gun control and stop killings of innocent kids, it is really outrageous because, you know, everybody want to hold on to the Second Amendment, and the Second Amendment is not the Bible, okay? It's not actually what's going on. It's not how it's set up to be. It's not the way that everybody believe it is, okay? Because the Second Amendment does not guarantee you the right to own a firearm, okay? The way the Second Amendment was written in 1791, when it was written up, was for militia and members of the militia to own a firearm.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then in 1876, if you want to go by the Constitution, okay, the Supreme Court ruled that it wasn't a right for anyone to own a firearm in America. Okay. It was for the states and militia. And that was the United States versus Crankshaw in 1876, where the court ruled that the right to bear arms is not guaranteed by the Constitution. That was the first major ruling of the courts here in the United States.
When they changed it, they did the amendment on what?
Well, when you look at this right here, Saxman, I want to say this again, is that when the courts ruled that the Constitution did not give you the right to bear arms, individuals, that is, okay, and that you had to be a member of the militia, you have to go back, and I'm going to go back into this because we had gun control in the cowboy days, okay? Wyatt Earp and them in Dodge City made you check your gun at the city limits.
And you had to be 18 years of old to own a gun.
That's correct. Now, why is it that corporations, I know why the corporations are raising the age limit to 21, and they're not selling assault rifles no more because of the shooting in Parkland. Actually, this should have happened back in Columbine. Okay, we shouldn't have had Columbine. We shouldn't have had Virginia Tech. We shouldn't have had Sandy Hook.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, we keep making excuses.
Chardon.
Right, Chardon. We had it right here in Cleveland. Success Tech. We had two school shootings here in Cleveland. But we keep making excuses for what's happening, and I think that's the big problem right there. When you make the excuse why somebody can have a gun. Now, I don't have a problem with nobody hunting. Okay, I don't have a problem with nobody having an AR-15. Okay, if you're responsible, with your AR-15.
Exactly.
But an AR-15 is there to kill. Let's not make no mistakes about it. When you're talking about hunting, nobody hunts with an AR-15 unless he's hunting a man. Okay, the AR-15 is a weapon that was made after Vietnam, the M16 and the M10 and the M4, and it's made to kill. That's why I use military-style weapons.
Right.
Okay, if you was to shoot a deer with an AR-15, you'll probably tear the meat up. You couldn't eat it.
Right.
Okay, so you got to look at this. And in 1939, and I want to say this when people start talking about we don't have no gun control. Right. In 1939, the United States versus Miller, okay, was our first test case when the United States government banned Tommy guns, okay, and said that you couldn't own an automatic weapon.
And that was just shooting a 45 caliber APC.
Well, right, and it goes back, and the reason they banned it, okay, was because of the gangsters shooting up the police
Mm-hmm.
and the cities.
Mm-hmm.
And having after the St. Valentine massacre,
Mm-hmm.
that was it. They banned the Tommy gun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you couldn't buy it. Okay, Miller took the United States to court and said it was a violation of the Constitution. Okay, and the court ruled that the Constitution said you could have a weapon, but it didn't say what type of weapon you can have. So it's not your right to have a Tommy gun. It's not your right to have an AR-15 if that's what the states and the United States government decides.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I want to say this. At 18, you cannot go into the store and buy no liquor. You cannot rent a car, but you can go buy AR-15, 5 clips, and up to 5,000 rounds in one day.
At 18, you can also join the military and own an AR-15 and protect your company,
Right.
Country with it.
But they won't let you drive a car.
Mm-hmm.
They won't let you drink liquor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they will let you have a weapon that will kill everybody.
Mass destruction.
Okay. That is something seriously wrong with us. Okay. And I want to say that is something seriously wrong.
Well, that's why I say, Sean, they should raise the age limit to enter the military. Then if they're going to say 18 years of age is not mature enough and responsible enough to handle such a weapon, like a military-style weapon, then you shouldn't be able to join the military at the age of 17. I mean, age of 18. Simple as that.
And that's correct, SAXMAN. I don't have.
I went in at that age and I was responsible. I shot my M16. I shot my M30. I shot the 30 caliber. I shot the Barrett 50 cal. I shot the M72 Laws rocket. I shot the M203 grenade launcher. I shot it all.
And then you have to go back to the case right here. I want to go back into this about sensible gun control.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until Heller versus D.C. that the Supreme Court actually gave an individual right under the Constitution to own a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And even when they made that ruling, they said that if you own a gun, you could only keep it in your house. So the state and the federal government had a right to regulate where you had the gun.
They say as far as the assault weapon.
Any gun.
Okay.
Okay? Because the Supreme Court is standing in line with what Ronald Reagan did in 1967. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In 1967, when the Black Panthers came out to protest against police brutality, and they walked into the State House, okay, with automatic M14 carbines and stuff, the Mumford Act came into effect, and they did that in 6 hours. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In 6 hours, they passed a law in California that said that you could no longer open carry long rifles and sidearm in the public atmosphere. Okay? So that's where the Heller case came back in and confirmed that ruling. Now, the Second Amendment goes back all the way, and it's not the Bible, people. And I want to say this. Welcome, Facebook Live, YouTube, and everybody. We're in the chat room right now. D Knows is talking about the Second Amendment. If you look at the history of the AR-15, SAXMAN, Eugene Stoner and Robert Freeman and James Sullivan and Fairchild, they are the co-owners of the company Amalite Corporation, who made the AR-15.
And that's what the AR stands for.
Right, that's what the AR stands for. It's the initials for their company.
Right.
They developed this weapon, and even they have put out a statement that this weapon was not made to be in the public atmosphere as it is today. They said that this weapon was made for the military,
Mm-hmm.
and it shouldn't be out here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it in 1994, and I'm gonna bring this to you right here because I know what a lot of people in the chat room saying because I'm looking in the chat room and looking at it. 1994, they banned the AR-15.
All right.
We had no shootings from 1994 to 2004. We had 1,500 shootings of weapons, but we had no shootings of an AR-15 used between those 10-year periods. Okay? After 2004 to today, we had 312 shootings used with AR-15s.
Mm-hmm.
And it has some very serious damage that is doing, okay? Let's make no mistake about it, people. When an AR-15, you get hit by a round with an AR-15, it's a 7.62 millimeter, the AR 15 is based on the AR-10, military style, and they have a lighter AR-15, which is 5.556 millimeter version of the AR-10.
Still dangerous. Still a high velocity round.
They tell you when your rounds are when you hit by that round, it destroys your body.
It does.
It's not like a regular round hitting you and exploding. It says it's go through your body and it tears up. You can get hit in the shoulder and it'll come out your spine.
And it causes it causes so much trauma to your body. You can die just from the shock alone. So think about the fact that what happened in L.A.
Well, I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna go back to that L.A. because this is my question right here, because we're gonna go into the police shooting in Parkland. I mean the shooting at the high school in Parkland, because I have some of the general police orders from police departments around the country, and we're gonna go back into that in a minute. But I want to go right here. In Aurora, an AR-15 was used. 24 people were killed.
That's the theater. You talking about theater shooting?
Correct.
Okay.
In Orlando, the AR-15 was used, and 49 people were killed.
Okay.
In Las Vegas, an AR-15 was used, and 58 people were killed. Sandy Hook, an AR-15 was used, and 20 people were killed. In a church in Texas, an AR-15 was used, and 7 people were killed. San Bernardino, an AR-15 was used, and 14 people were killed. And then in Parkland, right here in Parkland, Florida, you had 14 killed. 14 kids. I mean, you had 3 adults and 17 killed, 3 adults and 13 kids. Now, when you go back into this is a total since 2004 of 186 people killed and 28 wounded. And I'm not even talking about in Vegas when you had 15 people killed. Okay, so when you go back into that and you look at that incident that happened in Vegas with the bump stop.
Right.
Okay, those type of weapons should not be in use out in the cities. And police officers, we talked about that last week, SAXMAN, about police officers running up against these weapons. Okay, and I want to go right here to this, because this is the big elephant in the room. Everybody want to know, could the police had prevented the shooting? Okay, now this is the problem here of the tips that came in and the red flags missed in the shooting. Okay, there was 39 calls to the Parkland, to the police department and to the county sheriff's office. Also, adjacent county sheriffs got some calls also. Plus, the FBI got some calls. Okay, plus they trying to tie it into the Promise program in Florida, because the kid was allegedly caught with some bullets in a book bag and a knife. Okay, and we're going to talk about that the second hour, the school to prison pipeline. And that's what the Promise program was based on. And everybody needs to understand that the Promise program has nothing to do with the shooting in the high school. So we're going to open up the phone lines in a minute, and we're going to see what's going on there. But SAXMAN, what I want you to know is that everybody has to take a step back here for a minute. Okay, and you can't blame the police for everything. You can't blame social service for everything.
That's right.
There were some things that was missed there. Okay, the FBI received a tip in January from a person close to Cruz that the 19-year-old owns guns and could be a future school shooter. Okay, the problem here is that the law is not set up to stop a crime from happening. Okay,
we're not the majority report. What's that? Minority
well,
report?
Well,
the movie called Minority Report, where they was able to see the future of a person committing a crime before it happened.
Right, but most police officers have to either commit a crime or come in. Now there's some flags there, and they did refer him to mental health services, and by law, he went voluntarily into those services. So guess what? He didn't go into the NICS system.
Right.
Okay. And the reason he didn't go into the NICS system is because the NRA stopped all that. And we're going to go into that part back into that on the back
because
side.
isn't it where all the way to get in the NICS system, somebody has to make a complaint about you being mentally unstable or something, and that puts you into the FBI system?
Well, a doctor has to tell
A
you.
doctor, okay. All right.
A doctor has to say that you're mentally unstable.
Okay.
Okay. And that's a big problem because if a doctor doesn't say that you're mentally unstable, then you can get a gun. And that's because the NRA. And we're going to talk about the NRA. The NRA has stood. They talking about they want common sense gun control, and they want they want to say something about the kids. That is a bunch of bull. You have a right to a gun, but my kids and your kids also have a right to go to school.
Go to school,
They have a right to live. Okay. There's also some things in there. Yes, you can use a car to kill somebody.
Sure can.
You can use a knife to kill somebody. Okay, so we're not going to say that.
But Sean, can I say this? Assault is a verb. It's not a noun.
Well, I think the school. What really should have happened was the school. When they expelled him, they should have notified the police and the FBI that they expelled him because
of his behavior.
Because he brought a gun, or a bullet to school. Then the school could have prosecuted him, for having a weapon on school grounds. Then they could put it before a judge. Okay, Florida law does not allow an individual to come into my house just because my wife called and take my gun. Okay, I have to either be violent or I have to be in such a state where they take me involuntarily to the mental hospital. But then the mental doctor has to say, okay, yeah, he has a problem, and then he have to let a judge know.
Right.
Okay. Now his parents wasn't here, so who is the person that's going to take you, SAXMAN, to a judge and say, hey, SAXMAN is mentally ill, and sign him in? You know, do our own probate.
Right.
Okay. That's the problem that we're missing right here. The NRA fought this. The NRA stopped it. The NRA stopped 38 measures of common sense gun control. 38. Okay. Now the NRA and me normally is not on the same side in most things, especially with most of the shootings, because the NRA has never attacked law enforcement. Okay, never in the history has the NRA attacked law enforcement. So when you look at this and you come back around, okay, the NRA is attacking law enforcement
now.
Okay, because it doesn't fit their bill of a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun.
Well, that was a heck of a slogan, wasn't it?
Okay, and it doesn't fit their bill of arming all teachers.
Right.
Okay, because you just had a teacher in Atlanta go crazy in a classroom with a gun. Okay, nobody asked the question, what if the teacher the shooter? Well, we know now from yesterday in Atlanta, the teacher could be a shooter. And when a person say I'm going to kill myself, you don't know who he going to take with him.
Right.
You don't know what he's going to do. Okay, so there is things that we can do, which is common sense gun control. There's a lot of laws on the books, okay, but some things that need to be changed. Me personally, I'm going to say this: if our cities will not give our police officers AR-15s in replace of their shotguns, and I'm not talking about the traffic guy like I had when I was in traffic, because I can respond to any call. They give me a patrol rifle, but they won't give a patrol rifle to the 512 who's in the middle of the projects, or 312, or the guys in the projects, or a guy on a one-man car that's out there towing a car, and he might get caught up into something. All he can rely on is his shotgun. And there's a reason for that, okay? And the reason is that the city says the gun is too powerful for all the police officers to have.
What's the point of putting them out there then?
Okay, that's why they only give them. That's all why they only give them to certain people.
Certain individuals, and they get them training for that one. Yeah.
I'm willing to say in Cleveland right now,
okay,
on a shift, you probably only got one or one person to shift, maybe two. I doubt if they have two, but I'm gonna say
that have the patrol rifle.
That have the patrol rifle. And I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Right. So any police officer out there for the city of Cleveland, tell me in the chat room how many patrol rifles is on a shift. I know before I left the city in 2011, they only gave patrol rifles to CSU and the traffic guys that was handpicked to get them. Everybody couldn't get them. Okay, you had to get handpicked.
And you had to be special trained for that.
And you have to go through patrol rifle and be special trained. Okay. Now, if you're not going to give them to all police officers,
right?
Okay, and I'm going to say this: if you're not going to give them to all police officers, then they don't need to be on the street.
Right. I think it's stupid. I think every officer should be armed.
Now we didn't have. I'm gonna say this: we in the city of Cleveland, we have had 3 major shootings.
Okay.
3 major shootings. Councilman Palencia was just talking about one with us before, right here at 156.
156
and Waterloo.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the one on Euclid and Avalon.
Yeah, blocked down from Green.
Blocked down from Green. Mm-hmm. Okay. They shooting up everything.
Yeah.
And ain't hitting nothing.
Well, my investigation, I found out what that second shooting was about. The gentleman had his car carjacked, stolen from him, and while he was out with his friends at the convenience store, his car pulled up in the parking lot with the guy that stole it in it. He saw his car with the guy that jacked him, and he went in his car and pulled out an AK-47 and opened up on him.
But see, this is the thing. What I'm saying, you have a AK-47 or AR-15, and you don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Look at the shooting and the killing on 112.
Yeah.
They shot up the whole street.
Yeah.
Okay. China got killed over there. Okay. And this guy had no business with an AR. Now, what happens when, and I'm going to say this to everybody, and especially to the law enforcement officers there, and in the chat room, they talking about gun control and guns. What happens when you run up on an AR-15, okay? And I'm going to bring this right here, and I'm glad that we're going right there because I'm going to bring this right here before we talk about what the NRA blocked. Because SAXMAN and NRA blocked for 20 years, they've been blocking so much gun control. It is really ridiculous. And then when President Trump told the Republicans yesterday that they were scared of the NRA.
Well, I don't think it's afraid. It's just that the NRA is a powerful lobbyist. They powerful. They spend a lot of money on these politicians to keep them in office so they can get their
right. Before we go to the NRA, because we're gonna open the phone lines up because the phone lines are jumping. Everybody, the phone lines are jumping. On our we national right here in 22 cities on internet radio.
Dude hit me up like, can I call?
NPX simulcast right now. And let them, the phone lines is jumping. I want to go into this active police shooting, and I want to go into the police response right here before we go into the NRA and get off track. I have in my hand right here for everybody, this is the active police shooting general police order for the city of Cleveland, 3.3.01, active shooter response policy.
Okay.
I also have right here the policy for the Broward County Sheriff's Office. And I want to say this right here to everybody. I would like to, before I'm pass any judgment on any law enforcement officer or anybody that's put in a situation where they have to make a choice whether they're going to lose their life or whether they're going to die today, that stuff talking about that they took an oath and they should have ran into the school and that they should have died. Everybody has to make that choice on their own.
Not everybody's built the same.
Okay, and everybody doesn't have the DNA to run to the gun. So I want to make this clear. You just seen a video of a Cleveland police officer who wouldn't even assist his partner fighting with a middleman because he didn't want to type a report.
Right.
Now, personally, I think that the supervisors or the academy or the people that put him in the police department should have seen this coming a long way back. But now you're talking about a 32-year veteran, I mean a 28-year veteran who probably went to the school thinking that it was going to be a good, cushy job, and he didn't have to worry about all the craziness, especially that was going on. But you have to look at this. There's no cushy jobs in law enforcement. Okay, I don't care if you're watching the parking lot. There's
Right.
no cushy jobs in law enforcement.
Sitting in the room watching paint dry.
But when everybody has to understand is that the individual, not no job, not no supervisor, no general police orders, no laws or no rules is going to force a person to do something when he knows that he may lose his life. It's got to be in his heart.
It has to be in them, exactly.
It has to be in his heart.
Has to be in them.
Okay. And I'm going to sit down and I would love to talk to that officer to find out what was his reasons why he didn't go into the school. Now, I want to ask these police officers just in the chat room before we go to D knows, but we're going to answer the phone line. I want to ask these police officers. The Cleveland General Police Order clearly states, and it's 8 pages, that in order to prevent death or serious harm to individual persons, officers responding to an active shooter incident shall have the authority to attempt to make immediate contact with and stop the active shooter. That is a far cry from telling him that he shall go into the school and engage the shooter. Again, the Cleveland Police Department General Police Order states, in order to prevent death or serious harm to innocent persons, officers responding to an active shooter incident shall have the authority to and shall attempt to make immediate contact with and stop the shooter. Okay? They telling me I have the authority to go in there, and they tell me that I shall attempt to make immediate contact. They're giving me the chance to make my decision. Okay? They're not saying that you will go in there, and they say you shall make immediate contact with and stop. But in your active shooter trainer and training, you're being told to get out of your car and engage. Okay? Now, I want to say this to a lot of people right here in the chat room because I understand this, but under the labor law, the United States Department of Labor, okay? Everybody should understand this. The United States Department of Labor says that an employee has the right to refuse a task if it means that that employee may be in danger of serious physical harm or losing his life. Okay? A police officer is an employee, just like a garbage collector, just like a fireman. He takes an oath to serve and protect. Okay? The United States Supreme Court says, and I'm going to go back on this case right here. Okay? The United States Supreme Court says that a police officer do not have to protect a person.
That's right. Supreme Court ruling,
Okay.
1871 came out.
Right. So it says they do not have to protect the person. Okay. So when you go into this about the active shooter, if they're being trained to go in and immediately make contact with the shooter, and then the GPO to fall in line with the Labor Department is telling you you have a choice,
right?
But you should try it, you should do it, and they're telling me. My question is this. Every officer has to make a decision if he's going to die today. And it's just like if you're sitting in a church. It's just like if you see a car going to the lake. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a person getting ready to carjack you. I don't care what it is. You have to make that decision. I'm going to die.
Right.
I can't make that decision for you, SAXMAN.
Right.
I can't make that decision for anyone in the police department.
Right.
Okay, the chief can't make that decision.
Right.
If Sean decides, because the city failed to give me a ballistic vest, this is what the city's supposed to issue you:
right.
A ballistic vest, a ballistic helmet, okay, ride shield. But in order to engage an active shooter, even with your .40 caliber, they're supposed to give you that ballistic helmet and vest that you can put on and go in to give you some type of protection.
Right.
Because you are going up against a rifle, and those hallways 75 feet long.
Right.
I mean, 75 yards long.
Right.
Okay. How many people in the police department that can shoot accurately 75 yards?
None that I know of.
I asked you that question because you know what? In Cleveland, we used to do that for days off. Okay.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, and this is a stat from the New York Police Department Tactical Unit. Okay. their officers get into shooting training and they only hit 20% on the target. 20%.
At 75 yards.
Period.
Period.
A shooting normally takes place for a police officer within 21 feet.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
At 21 feet, if they're only hitting 20%,
they terrible. Go sit down somewhere.
what is going to happen? And I'm going to come back to this. Parkland, the Broward County Sheriff's Office active shooter response general police order is basically the same as Cleveland.
Okay.
It's telling the officer they may.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference when you say you may do something.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody has to understand. We have people who get into firefights on the front line in combat and leave.
Run up. Yeah.
Okay. The word coward. Let me give you an old thing that they said, and it reminds me of this movie, Batum. There's no such thing as a coward. Your job is to go home alive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So everybody remember that before you start calling this police officer a coward. Okay.
Right.
The question is, did he have the proper equipment? Did he know what he was getting into? Did he know where it was coming from? And I have a problem here where everybody in the chat room is telling me it's kids. They're killing kids. He should have run in there. If it was just him, I could say he made a choice between life and death.
Mm-hmm.
But there was 3 other officers that came on scene and did not enter that building.
They all should have put together a plan to enter in that building.
Well, that leads me to believe that there's a problem with with training. That leads me to believe that somebody gave a stand down order.
It must have come from a supervisor.
There's more to this conversation
for them to stand back and wait
than what is being told. Yeah. And I really have a problem when I'm gonna tell everybody this. I really have a problem with police officers calling other police officers cowards.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Because where this is leading to, people, and I'm talking to Houston, I'm talking to Savannah, I'm talking on the internet radio. Mm-hmm. When you call a police officer a coward, okay, what it's leading to is that when a police officer get into a shooting with an unarmed man, or get into a shooting where he kills a 80-year-old grandmother, you no longer can use that phrase that he was afraid of his life.
Right.
You're going to be put at a higher standard because now the general public and everybody is saying
he should have thought about it. He should have took more time.
But not only that,
if
he's going to shoot an unarmed man or he's going to shoot an 80-year-old woman, he should have went into the school with a man that had a gun that was going to stand up to him instead of letting these kids get killed.
And that's why they're using the word coward. He must be a coward for him not to want to go face somebody with a gun.
Right. So when you are labeling our law enforcement officers with that word, remember it travels with everybody. It's not just Parkland. It's going to Cleveland, Chicago, all the way up the line. We're going to open up the phone lines because our phone lines is really jumping out. And you have to look at this when we talk about common sense gun control. When you talk about common sense gun control, SAXMAN, you have to look at this. For 20 years, the NRA has blocked any type of gun control and gun violence research, okay? So when you look at the CDC was going to do a research on what was happening with gun violence. But first, we're going to go to the phone line, and on the phone with us, we got PJ. PJ, what's happening out of the land?
PJ on the phone?
Yeah, we got PJ. Give PJ, what's up with you? Hold on for a minute.
We got to get him a mic. We got to mic him up.
Yeah, we got to mic him up.
Hold on, PJ. He's trying to mic you up.
We lost PJ. Give us a minute right here. SAXMAN, what we got to do is...
what we got to do?
We got to get him back into the computer. Give me a minute. Tell him to hold still.
What happened? You lose my boy PJ.
Yeah, we lost our phone line. We lost our phone line.
You want to have him call back?
Just give us a minute. The control room is telling us right now that we lost our caller. So give us 1 minute right there. So I want to go back to this, especially for Economic Mob. What's up there on it? Our phone lines went down for a minute, and They're working on the phone lines trying to get us back. So when you go back to the NRA and you start blocking the gun violence.
Smack the door. Hold on.
Yeah, go on up there. And when you start blocking the gun violence, and the NRA set up for 20 years, blocking the CDC from doing any. Oh, there they go. They got us back up. There we go, right there.
Back up?
Yeah, we back up. PJ back with us. You back in the line with us. How you doing today, PJ?
What happened?
There you go, PJ. You back in there with us? Okay,
Yeah, we hear you now.
We hear him now. The control room got him back up. PJ, we was just talking about before we went to the phone line. We was talking about the NRA. But go ahead. What you got to say?
I mean, this whole, they making this big thing about, guns being an issue and everything like that. It's not the guns. I've never seen a gun just automatically just sit and shoot itself. Like, I own an AR and I own a shotgun, and both of them are sitting at home in my gun safe, and they ain't went out and killed nobody. I mean, guns don't kill. It's a stupid person with a gun that kills somebody. They quick to want to say, let's ban guns. No, it's the people who are getting their hands on these weapons and this machinery. It's not the gun itself. If you put a weapon in the hands of a dangerous, deranged, mentally unstable person, what you think is going to happen? Those type of things you've seen in Florida are going to happen.
So how do we be able to determine who's safe to have the weapon and who's not?
We need to get more in depth with deeper background checks. And I mean, prime example, this boy, and I want to say boy, not a man, 19 years old, can't go out there and buy beer or liquor, but you trying to tell me he's qualified to go buy a high-power rifle? That don't make sense to me.
Is he of age where he could join the military and protect the country with that high-power weapon?
And that he is, which is kind of, I mean...
That's kind of stupid, ain't it?
it kind of raises a flag. Like, I'm going to be 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and you can go put a gun in my hand, tell me you can go protect this country, but you figure if I'm a regular civilian walking the streets, I got to be 21 to go buy a gun.
Yeah, that don't make sense, does it?
At all.
But here we go with common sense gun control, okay? So when we talk about common sense gun control and we put those measures in, that's what we need. Because if the NRA wasn't blocking gun control, and if the NRA cared about law enforcement like they said they do, then they would let gun control, like background checks, go through. They would let other things happen on that level also.
This is very true.
And the problem is that, as Donald Trump said, and I hate to keep repeating the president, as the president said, that the Republicans are scared of the NRA.
The NRA, they saying that the NRA is so powerful that our president, the most powerful man in the world, is afraid of them.
I didn't know they were that powerful.
Because they are lobbyists. They are lobbyists. They got money, and they actually pay for votes. They pay for senators, congressmen. They pay for people. Because think about it. Think about it. The NRA is in place, supposedly in place, to protect our Second Amendment rights. That's what they claim to be. So they're paying politicians that's going to be on their side to help keep the Second Amendment in place. So that's why they fight against everybody that wants to have take away your guns, take away your rights, take away, don't let this person have it, that person have it. Well, the NRA will say, no. That's going against this man's rights to bear arms. The Second Amendment rights said my rights cannot be infringed upon. So you trying to infringe upon my rights because of this individual down the street just committed a crime because he's crazy? I can't have a weapon? That's not fair. That's infringing on my rights. So that's what the NRA is saying. I'm against anything or anybody who's trying to say you can't have a weapon. And that's what they set up for.
And I totally agree. I mean, the whole thing is it's funny you touched on that because we were just having a conversation about this at my police department the other day about it, and, a lot of the older guys, like, the vets, as I like to call y'all, we're talking about it. And I said, one of the greatest things a wise man told me, which was you, Russo, carrying a gun comes with great responsibility. And You know, you get people out here who will get a gun and they think they untouchable. You know, they get a gun, they think they Superman. Having a gun is a great responsibility, and in the hands of a wrong individual, it can become a very dangerous and deadly weapon.
Well,
a lot of people aren't disciplined on guns.
Well, let me ask you this question. Okay, so you stand there for background checks. Okay, if a band, of course, most places right now, if a band came on it, so you already own it, so you know they're not going to come get your gun. If you had to vote for a band versus Kids Life, would you vote for that band?
In all honesty, if would I vote for the band to ban the AR-15?
Right, as is now, like they did in 1939 when they said you couldn't have a Tommy gun.
No, I'm not going to vote against it. I mean, there's no need. I mean, you can sit here, and if we don't sit there, your show's called Keep It Real, I won't keep it all the way 100.
Keep it 100.
You sit up there and tell me, like, oh, well, we going to ban these guns, but that little hillbilly hick out there in the no-name town out in BFE in the sticks somewhere, he can have all the guns, he won't go shoot and blow up stuff, he even go hunting with it, and you want to sit there and talk like, oh, we going to put a ban on these guns just because this Florida shooting. If you want to be all the way technical, and what pisses me off more than anything with our government is that we had this school shooting in Florida. True enough. How many other shootings have we had with high-power rifles? I'll give you one of the most horrific shootings ever, and even in law enforcement, was the North Hollywood shootout.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jedi. Go ahead, my Jedi. Do it.
And those two Los Angeles police officers ran into a gun store and grabbed 2 AR-15s to have a battle with these other 2 guys who were fully covered in body armor and had a high-power rifle, which were AR-15s.
Now, just think if they would abandon them, ban all AR-15s, they wouldn't have had nothing to fight back.
Well, see, this is the problem with law enforcement. Exactly. So let's go right here. Law enforcement has access to those weapons, okay? The only reason law enforcement don't have those weapons is because the community and the activists don't want law enforcement to have those weapons. Okay, so let's keep it real. If we're gonna keep it real, the only reason law enforcement is outgunned, okay, is because the community don't want those officers in their community with those guns.
And why is that, Sean?
Because it happened back in the 60s and 50s of abuse. Everybody has to understand that when abuse take place, harder restrictions come on that abuse than what the abuse was, okay? So when you don't hit it straight on, just like in 1930, when Al Capone and them was shooting up everything and the gangsters was going, they didn't deal with the gangsters in Al Capone, okay? They took away the Tommy gun, okay? So you have to deal with the problem. Now, AR-15s is a weapon of war, okay? Now, I can guarantee you this right now, and I'm going to keep it straight, Rick, and I love to be on internet radio because I can say whatever I want to say.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to say this. 1967, when the Black Panthers came out and walked into the state capitol up on Governor Ronald Reagan, okay, Mr. Great Ronald Reagan, that every Republican says the best president that ever lived besides George Washington. They passed the Mumford Act in 6 hours to remove that right from them carrying open weapons, okay? And they did that because they came out against law enforcement, and they was not going to have you carrying a gun, standing up there as a black man, okay? So let's keep it real. If Tom Snyder and everybody want the AR-15 banned, and he's a multi-millionaire, start going into gun stores with young black males and start buying up them AR-15s. And sure shit, as I'm sitting here on the radio, I guarantee you we would not have to worry about gun control for AR-15s doing up no shootings for schools no more. Okay?
Right.
That's the real deal of the situation. Okay?
Right.
It's all about money. Okay? You look at the stores right now. You look at the stores right now. The NRA is on the bad side of this deal. And the NRA is on the bad side of this deal because these kids from Parkland has now stepped out, and they're getting ready to be voting age, and they bringing their parents, they bringing their grandparents, and they bringing everything. So there's a blue wave that's getting ready to come across America, and everybody needs to understand this, especially the Republicans and the hardcore people and the right-wingers and the all-rights who trying to force everything down. We're only 6 months away from the election.
From the
midterms. The House and the Senate is subject to turn. And I'm going to say it's subject to turn because the last 7 special elections, Democrats is winning in deep, deep red states that they could never win in before. And that's a backlash on President Trump. Okay?
Yep.
Pennsylvania is going to be the telltale. If March 13th, that seat flipped into Democrats' hand, that is the all-right Ku Klux Klan seat, head, Grand Poobah area. Okay?
Wow.
If that seat flip, then you know there's a big problem coming.
PJ, what you think about that?
Yes.
What you think about the kids? What he said about the kids and bringing the parents to the voting booths, and they're in voting age, and they're going to change the way the NRA is doing things now. What's your opinion on that?
I mean, it goes back to what Sean was saying. It's all about money, and we all know, the NRA is a big outfit. So, I mean, yeah, it's good to see the kids, want to step out and everything else and all of that. But, I mean, when you're going against something like that, that's a conglomerate, big business, big money.
Well, remember,
you gotta
remember, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but remember, these are the kids from the parents from the time when they hated us.
No, but you know what? I'm not gonna say that because I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that because you know why?
What?
These are the baby boomers.
Baby boomers.
Now their parents didn't hate you. These are the free love people. These are the Woodstock parents.
We are from the Woodstock parents.
No, we're not. These are the Woodstock parents. Okay.
Go ahead, Tone. Say it. I know.
Okay.
Tone's squirming in the seat over there.
See, I'm gonna say this.
I'm
No,
listening
I want to break it back down.
Right,
See, Saxman, what you have to understand. When we was kids in the '60s, okay, the teenagers are the ones now. These are the baby boomers and them, the free love people. Okay, now their parents are the hardcore ones. Okay, and when you go into race, everybody has to understand that when you go into race, the kids today are more tolerable with race relations, and they accept more different race than anybody now, okay? And that's because of the mixture of the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, the 90s, and coming up, okay? So the hardcore ones are back in the 60s and 50s. They're the ones that don't want to see change. They're the ones that want to make America great.
Right.
And when you hear make America great again, they're talking about going back to the 50s.
Yeah.
That's why when you hear Republicans talk about making America great, he even goes back to slavery.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. They're not in that.
No.
Okay. These kids are not. These kids are free love millennials.
They're from the flowers and the paint on
right.
their faces.
These kids right now, the kids that stand
Berkeley, they from Berkeley.
Right, the kids that standing up from Parkland.
You know about Berkeley.
And you have to look at this. Patty Hearst.
Yeah.
Okay, the SLA. They was hardcore terrorists, and there was only 14 of them.
Yeah.
They was putting bombs up under police cars. Just think if Black Lives Matters came out. Let me say this. Just think if Black Lives Matter went into a gun store and brought a bunch of AR-15s.
They better hurry up and get them.
They got a bunch of AR-15s.
No, because Black Lives Matter. See, this is the problem right
here.
Well,
you're the one who said Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about black people in general.
Not that
You're talking
many.
about the group.
You know what, Tone? See, this is the problem. What I'm gonna tell you about a black gun ownership. Majority of your black families and them don't own guns. Okay, we're not into
when?
that.
What you say?
You don't.
He say since when?
You don't.
I can't think of one black family that I know that doesn't own guns.
That's because you was raised around guns.
Yeah, sure was.
There's a difference when you raised around. See, you have to look at this, Tone, and this is what I tell everybody on the radio.
I was raised around blacks too. So.
Okay, no, but this is what I'm telling everybody.
I don't know.
Do you know right now, Tone Stone, if you take 25 people from the West Side, okay, 25 of them probably are CCW carrying individuals.
Not many blacks are.
Not many blacks are. Many blacks don't deal with guns. And when you start talking about paying $8, $9, $15, $1,600 for guns, they're not going. They don't even want to pay $600.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's a whole nother reason for that. We're not gonna get into all that because
come on, not Tone.
No, because
it's a whole nother dynamic why many black people aren't CCW
there
holders
is a dynamic
because they're more likely to be hold a felony conviction. That's the reason for that.
But so what you have
overwhelmingly.
To, but you have to see the statement you made when the statement was made. What you came back and you tried to change the dynamic when you broke it down. It's not why many of our young men don't graduate school.
Sure don't.
When somebody say many of our young men don't graduate schools, you can't come back and say, well, there's reasons. We know the reasons why. Okay, we know the reason why our communities are the way they are. Okay, but the problem is that there was fix for that. Okay, in the 80s. Wait a minute, hold on, Tom. In the 80s, okay, when this came down the pipe, okay, you wasn't here, but our forefathers. Our forefathers.
You wasn't here.
I'm a millennial.
Right.
You were not here.
See, our forefathers and everybody had a plan. Fannie Lewis had a plan for the city, and she seen a 40-year plan. That's why Cleveland Clinic couldn't take over and just throw people out of the houses. And that plan was, wait a minute, Tone. See, because you always come up.
Are we getting off the subject?
No, we're not off the subject.
I wanted to speak on the gun matter.
Wait a minute, we're going to talk about the gun matter, but what I'm trying to, we're going right back into the gun matter.
Okay.
See, because when you say, just like this, when he said, it's not going to stop the killing, people don't have guns. On the morning show out of Chicago, I talked to a mother of a gang member who's doing 40 years to life, 17 years old right now in an Illinois prison. Okay. He shot 3 gang members coming home from school. And she went to the meeting. She went to the police department. She went to all this. You know what they told her? This ain't going to stop the gang violence. This ain't going to change nothing. They ain't going to stop the guns. You know what she did?
What?
She went and talked to other gang members' mothers and had them come out with her to walk these kids to school. Now, what gang what gang member is going to shoot at their mother? None. So you know what happened? At that school, it didn't stop the shootings in Chicago. It didn't stop the killings in Chicago. But at that one school, those kids were able to go to school freely without worrying about gun violence.
That was pretty slick.
Okay, and this is the problem right here, Tom. When you say it ain't gonna stop the killing, it may not stop the killing.
When did I say that?
But this is what you go lead to. But I want to go back to
this.
Words
in my, don't put words in my mouth, please. I want to speak on the matter.
To me all the time.
I want to speak on the matter. The question was posed to the caller. The question was posed to the caller. Would you vote to ban the assault rifle?
And he said no. Would you vote?
He said no. Right. And I agree with him. I don't agree with him for the same reasons that he said, but I agree with him because the fact of the matter is that if America decides to impose outlaw assault rifles, China's not going to outlaw assault rifles. Russia's not going to outlaw assault rifles.
About another country.
They're not. Those assault rifles that they manufacture are still going to make it into this country the same way humans are trafficked into this country. They can't stop that.
Tell me why they can't stop guns.
I mean, let me speak.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
My point is, I wouldn't vote to outlaw them because it's not going to matter. They're still going to end up in this country.
Tell me why they can't stop guns from entering this country.
30 seconds.
Because they can't even stop people.
They can't even
stop humans from being trafficked into this country.
How come they can't?
Because it's happening every day.
That is not correct.
Come on now. Humans are not trafficked into this country every day.
Listen, no.
Humans are not trafficked into this country on shipping containers from all across the seas.
Let me say this. Anything that comes in this country, if the United States want to stop it, if your government want to stop it, they can.
Okay. Well, I just
you tell me.
So anyway,
so back
to my original point. I wanted to finish talking about the vote. Okay, so I would my point was I wouldn't vote for the ban, but as far as when it comes to imposing more stricter background checks and stricter sanctions on these weapons, yes, because
but how do you do that?
Hold on, Sax, because I just heard the other day that in some states a dude can't even get a fishing license if he owe child support, but he could get a gun. So the rules and regulations for people, you can walk into a gun and walk out of there with a gun in 30 minutes.
But that's because of that.
After going through all the protocols, you should have to go through a month-long process to buy a firearm of any kind.
Wait a minute, why are you not doing that? That's the NRA. The NRA giving $21 million to a Republican.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's what the problem is.
Let me tell you what the problem is.
So if the NRA is the problem, then how you going to outlaw guns if the NRA is the problem?
That's why in November when the Democrats take it back and the money.
Last time I checked, school shootings was happening on Democrats was all the same.
School shootings going to happen anywhere.
Okay. Then.
But AR-15s have no place in America in the community. Now you may not vote for it. It's just like you hard on police officers and misconduct. The only way you're gonna stop that is vote it out and make consequences. When they banned the Tommy gun, you talking about oh, they're gonna have the guns anyway. I love when you say that, and I love when John back you on that. Oh, they're gonna have the guns anyway. Tell me a person that has a Tommy gun
Today.
Outdated.
You crazy.
They're not
They was
outdated.
rapping about Tommy guns 10 years ago.
Well,
They're not popular like
what-
AK-47s.
what crap-
They was
what-
rapping
what-
about
show me
Tommy
a shooting.
guns.
Show me a shooting. It was
I
you.
can intervene on that, but why are some of them guns popular though? Because a lot of these rap songs and stuff. That's just like with, for instance, like if somebody talking about like with guns. What's the first thing somebody in the street from them will go give me a 45? A lot of these people don't even know about guns. They just hear about it in the song and they be like, oh, I'm gonna go with that.
Well, PJ.
But hold on, PJ. But see, PJ, this is the problem right here. Let's go right here. When you start talking about conduct of the community, okay, that goes back to what your grandmother and them used to say, and goes back to the 50s, okay, when they treated the crack problem as a criminal problem and not as a medical problem.
Exactly.
That created all the problems we having right now.
That came along with the
okay,
crack.
single
Like
family.
everything, but you know what? And since you touched on that, not to cut you off, Sean, since we touched on that, it's funny you say that because, like, see, also being in the public safety, so also me being a paramedic, it's kind of weird how when crack hit the hood, it was, we gonna lock them up, we gonna put them away, we gonna separate the man and the woman from the kids and from the family and everything else. But when heroin hit Pepper Pike, and heroin hit Bay Village, now it's an epidemic.
But you know, but you know.
Thank you very much.
But but everybody sitting here and listening to us on the radio know why. When you fail to go out and vote for people who has the same ideas and interests you have, then you have to live up under other people's ideas.
But the way the voting system been going,
No, SAXMAN, it ain't about the voting system. See, this is the problem that we have right now. When our people fail to take their responsibility, okay, when our people fail to take their responsibility,
Wait, forget about the voting system.
Let me say this.
Both sides are for the same
Right?
thing.
No, both sides are not. See, this is the problem with everybody.
If you do your research on it, yes, they are.
No, they're not. No, they're not. The Democrats and progressive are way out away from conservatives. Okay, if you can't even put a progressive or a liberal on a conservative end
on certain things,
now you have
certain things. Yes, you're right. On certain things, you're right.
No, not on 99. Because you know why? Because conservatives don't even want to hear gun control. Okay, a conservative don't even want to give anybody no food. A conservative don't want you to have medical.
Food.
Okay,
yeah,
wait a minute. Listen to me.
things,
A conservative
right.
don't want you to have no social programs. A conservative feels that you should get up on your bootstraps and go out and get everything you want,
Work hard for what
whether
you
you
want.
can or not.
I agree
a
with
conservative
you. I'm talking about on gun control.
There is
certain things.
No, only liberals on gun control that's scared to say anything. That is the ones in red states like Missouri and stuff, and they would come out. Okay, if they would pass right now, I'm gonna tell you this right now. If Paul Ryan would put a gun control vote on the floor right now, they can do anything they want to do.
You know what? Okay.
Go ahead, man. Speak it.
I'm going back to the.
Hold on before you go
drugs.
there. Wait a minute. Hold on before you go there. Hold on, go there. PJ, we thank you for calling in with us and spending the day with us, man. And you're going to have to call back and get back on the line with us again and show us some more love, okay?
Thank you, brother.
Baby.
All right, thank you, brother.
You be good.
Hey, that was PJ from the land, and everybody, the phone line is tied up, so we jumping in and out. But Jay had something he wanted to say. Go ahead, Jay.
I was thinking about Clinton. He's the one, 3 strikes.
No, you can't
Stuff
blame
like
Clinton.
that. No, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying that's what happened.
No, but
I'm not blaming him
you know,
for anything.
you know
I'm
where
not
3
blaming
strikes
him for
came from.
anything.
You know where 3 strikes came from. See, this
We know the history where it came from, but he
exactly.
He signed the order to make it.
Right.
He's
through.
not.
But that wasn't his fault. See, this is what everybody fail to realize, and this is the whole thing right here, John. This is the whole thing. What I'm saying. Yes, Clinton was the president, and Clinton signed the bill and the law, and California and everybody came with the 3 strikes you outlaw.
Right.
Okay, but that was not his idea. Okay, that was the idea of the black leaders in the inner cities because
that we
crack
know.
was so violent.
That we know.
They went to Clinton and they begged Clinton for that, and we as black people held Hillary Clinton to that standard that she should have never been held to. Okay, that's the problem right there. We asked for that. Just like right now, the black community is crying for enforcement. the black community is crying about the gun violence.
But that's the whole thing, Sean. When they cried for enforcement and enforcement came out and did their job, then they start crying that they was doing their job.
Well,
here's the question. Here's the question for you two law enforcement.
You can't win. You can't win.
Wait a minute, but not them, Saxman. You have to understand, it's 2 different times now. See, those people, those leaders.
I got a question
wait,
for the
hold,
both
hold,
of
hold,
you.
hold on,
I see
Saxman.
look on your face,
but
man.
those leaders who was around that time to put that harsh thing on the community and everything, they was active in the community. They was making sure that the community had a valuable life and that everybody was prospering in the community. Our kids was going to school and being educated in the community. Okay, they're no longer here. And we allowed another group to come in and tell us about our history. Okay, that's the problem right here. That's the problem with the millennials. We allow another group to come in and tell us about our history, and then our leaders forgot what we put them in office for. Okay?
Go ahead. I see it. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna comment on that. What you just said, Sean. I want to ask you a question going back to this gun debate.
Go ahead.
If they did decide to pass some legislation to outlaw guns, let's just say outlaw
the AR-15.
No, not the AR-15. Because
that's what they're shooting for.
This is a question I'm trying to get to.
Okay, what ban?
As law enforcement, as a ban, like just banning weapons in general.
You can't. You can't.
They won't ban weapons in general. This. Okay, I know. I think I understand what your question is.
Go ahead.
Your question is, what happens if they say we're gonna put a ban on AR-15?
Would you, as law enforcement, be willing to walk around like maybe they still do today in England and London with just the billy club, no guns? Law enforcement don't walk around with guns around over there.
Okay, well, let me tell you this, Tone. There's two things that you fail to realize, and I'm going to answer your question in 2 ways. Okay, because when Australia now see since y'all want to leave your country and you want to talk about other countries because they don't enjoy the same things you enjoy. When Australia had their first mass shooting, they took everybody's guns. And guess what? To today, they haven't had a mass shooting, and they haven't had a shooting.
So you would agree? Okay. So you think that would be a good idea then?
No, you can't do that in the United States because guess what? There are over 100 guns for every household, okay? They would never ban. Your Constitution says that they can't ban guns. So if they... And the laws has already said that you don't.
And we got more mental illness.
And the Constitution says you do not have a right to have an AR-15. You have a right to have a gun, but you do not have a right to have an AR-15. Now, if they ban the AR-15, okay, they can't come to your house and take the AR-15 because they're not going to make everybody in America a felon. Okay, so what they would do is tell them you can no longer manufacture and sell an AR-15
to the United States,
just like they did when the ban went in effect in 1994. We already done it, okay? And when we done it, we didn't have no problems, okay? We didn't have no shootings with AR-15s. Everybody still had their guns. Everybody was still going out hunting with their Uzis. Everybody was still doing what they doing. See, the problem is...
But they was killing and shooting with Uzis and AK-47s.
That's correct. That's correct. So, but guess what? The difference is it wasn't being mass done, and the AR-15 had no place. Because this is the question what you should be asking yourself. Are you willing to...
Columbine was what? 1994, 96?
99. Okay, and Columbine did not use assault rifles.
They use rifles?
No, they didn't.
No, they use a Uzi.
They use pistols and bombs.
Yep.
Yeah,
they use
pistols and
bombs.
They
use a pistol.
They use pistols and bombs, Tech 9s, and bombs.
Tech 9, that's okay.
But
all right.
the difference in it, and if you'd have been here earlier in the studio,
Tech 9 shoots
when I read all that. But let me say this.
But it's an automatic weapon.
But not the same time.
But it's not.
Let me tell you, when you put a bump stop, see, everybody don't understand. When you put a bump stop on an AR-15, are you willing, and I'm going to ask this to the whole, everybody going around, then we're going to go in the chat room with D knows, are you willing to let the police officers walk around with AR-15s in their cars?
Well, that don't make me a difference personally.
But we're not talking personal. See, this is the problem.
You asked the question, so I can only answer for myself.
I want you to go to high purpose. Don't go to personal, because I don't want everybody to get personal. Because just like we told SAXMAN when we was talking about the police officers being cowards, okay? Right. The thing.
Oh yeah, I wanted to speak on that
We
too.
were listening. We were listening.
Oh right. Oh, we're gonna come back. Let's do this
I
right
don't
here.
like the word
Let's do
coward.
this right here because D knows in the chat room, and the chat room is on fire, and everything is jumping up there. So let's go into the chat room and see what's happening with D knows. Hey D, I see there's a bunch of smoke. Tell me what's up.
Well, Chanel, the chat room is on fire. Gun control and the Parkland Kids, and they're letting their opinion show. President Donald Trump. I want people with a natural talent, like hitting a golf ball or putting. Some people under pressure can't even keep their club back. What is the President of the U.S. doing comparing pressure of being under fire in a school shooting to missing a putt? Judith Brown Jones. I remember when a guy tried to rush the stage at one of his MAGA rallies and he was about to run. Then he started to hide behind a Secret Service agent. All talk. Ed Kynane. So he rips apart athletes and law enforcement, then wants to arm teachers to replace law enforcement with people who are like athletes to be trained by law enforcement. Wow, no wonder we can't keep up with this genius. Honda Franklin. I'm not a Trump supporter at all, but I'm so tired of talking about this man, Trump. Everyone knows he just likes to hear himself. That's why he's always talking. I vote that one day should be a Trump-free day. That means no one mentions his name for a whole day. Many police officers were surprised to find that not only the armed school resource officer, but 3 other Broward County sheriff deputies were outside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School during the shooting crisis and hadn't entered. Real Deal 101. Teachers should not be responsible for defending students from a shooter, much less the one expected to take one down. This is crazy. Let's keep all guns out of schools. Shouldn't we have real security at schools, say like the airport? Everything and everyone scanned before entering the buildings, stadiums, or fields? We as a country and each state should put our money where our mouths are. If we want our schools safe, we can make them much safer. Heck, here in we can spend the money for safety that we spend on rewriting our standardized student tests every year. Wild Child 99. If trained officers could be cowards, what Mr. President is expecting from untrained and underpaid teachers? President Trump just wants to increase sale for NRA by arming teachers. How selfish to make money from a tragedy. On point 9910. Where the hell was the librarian with her pistol? Yes, that's the question we'd be hearing from the pro-armed teachers crowd in the future. Old Dog 66. This is exactly why semi-automatic and whatever attachments made them automatic have to be banned. Human error and protection, 4 or 5 good guys with guns and still 14 dead. Arming teachers and other school personnel is not the solution. If 10% of teachers were armed, what if they are not in the classroom that the gunman attacks first? If the shooter is from the same school, he's likely to know who has a weapon. And that's what's happening in the chat room with Dee's Nose.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while the choir goes, savings coming at ya, savings coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see your practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
AP Radio News. I'm Ed Donahue. Some students were apprehensive on the first day back to Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, since 17 people were shot and killed there 2 weeks ago. There was only a half day of classes today. They picked up at the moment in the school day when the shots were fired. Superintendent Robert Runcie described what he saw.
They seemed to be enjoying their time together. I saw smiles, high fives, hugs. So it was really heartwarming to see our young people, expressing themselves.
Student Mei-Ling Hoshing says she hopes their message is being heard.
What needs to be done? We need strict gun laws. We need mental health evaluations, stricter background checks, and we need unity.
Police in Dalton, Georgia say a teacher barricaded himself inside a locked classroom at a local high school and apparently fired a single shot from a handgun. No students were in the classroom at the time. The teacher is in custody. He taught social studies and did play-by-play for the football team. Classes were canceled in a town outside Scranton, Pennsylvania. Crown-wearing worshipers clutching AR-15 rifles drank holy wine and exchanged or renewed wedding vows in a commitment ceremony at a local church. Police and some protesters were outside the church. The casket of Reverend Billy Graham is lying in honor at the U.S. Capitol. Graham has been called America's pastor. House Speaker Paul Ryan says Billy Graham has touched a lot of lives.
Eisenhower, King, Ford, and Reagan, to everyday citizens lining up to pay their respects.
Billy Graham died last week. He was 99. His funeral will be Friday in North Carolina. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards is calling on the state's top election official to step down after Secretary of State Tom Shedler was accused of sexually harassing an employee. Shedler responded by saying he and his accuser had a consensual sexual relationship. This is AP Radio News. Dick's Sporting Goods is immediately stopping sales of assault-style rifles and high-capacity magazines at all of its stores and is banning the sale of all guns to anyone under 21.
The chairman and CEO of Dick's, Edward Stack, tells ABC's Good Morning America that the company felt the need to do something after the school massacre in Parkland, Florida.
We've just decided that based on what's happened and with these guns, we don't want to be a part of this story.
The company had ended sales of assault-style weapons at Dick's stores following the Sandy Hook school shooting. But Dick's owns dozens of its Field and Stream stores where no such ban has been in place. Stack says the company is prepared for a potential backlash. The gunman in Florida who killed 17 people, Nicholas Cruz, bought a gun at a Dick's store in November. It was not the one used in the attack. I'm Mike Hempen.
Civil rights icon and Georgia Congressman John Lewis will give the commencement speech this spring at Harvard University. Ed Donahue, AP Radio News.
Welcome to Mafia, a new podcast telling stories of America's criminal underworld.
Gotti assumed the position of head of the Gambino family.
And using the name Donnie Brasco, I was able to infiltrate the Bonanno crime family in New York City.
Bugsy Siegel is an American mob legend.
One man changed the whole texture and landscape of crime in America.
Listen to Mafia every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.
Hey, Thirst, can I try out a few Coke Summer sound effects on you? Yes. Cool. You okay with this? Yes. And this? Yes. And what about this? Yes. Ha! Gotcha there, Thirst. That wasn't sound effects. That was a Coke. I'm no longer thirsty. You're so out of here. Coca-Cola. Open happiness.
Stop the madness. Keep it 100. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100 with your hosts, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stone. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 with live call-ins, heated discussions about current events, politics, national news, weather, and sports. Join our live online chat room and let your opinion show. Download our phone app. Stop the madness. Keep it 100 on STMK Radio 100. Come join us from 6 to 8 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. The best talk show on the web is here on STMK Radio 100. Call us at 1-866-484-7865. That's 1-866-484-STMK. Stop the madness. Keep it 100.
You're listening to STMK Radio 100. Stop the madness.
to Stop the Madness, keeping it 100 on STMK Radio 100. And now back to your host one more time, Sean L., Let, and Tone the Stump.
Tonight with a greater ready. Let us stand with a greater determination. Let us move on in these powerful days to make America what it ought to be.
Hey, welcome back, Facebook Live, YouTube, Snapchat, and Instagram. Hey, everybody, right here, there's a big storm coming through, so we just been told by the control room a lot of stuff been knocked down. But we back on the phone right now in Studio 51. We have Mike Davis from the land. Welcome to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100. Come on in and talk with us.
Mike, you there? Hold on.
Oh, the weather knocked it down.
They knocked it out again?
Tell them to stand by. We're going to try to bring it back on. Right there. Tony Stone, go ahead. You had something you want to say.
Well, earlier, the weather is bad outside. That's why me and Jay was so late getting in here. But we were listening to y'all in the car on the way in here, and you were talking about the officer down in the Parkland shooting and, him being accused of being a coward by other officers, amongst other people like Trump. Even Trump called him. So I hated I wasn't here, to participate in that part of the discussion. But since I got this opportunity, I want to say that first of all,
Trump called him a coward.
Yeah, of course Trump called him a coward.
He called who a coward?
Corporal Bone Spur called him a coward. He did.
Yeah, in that
you get Mike back.
Yeah, we got Mike back. We got. Hold on. Let me get right here. Again, we got the phones back up. They're going in and out. Mike, are you back with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. We got it. Mike, give us 1 second here. Tony Stone was saying something, and I want you to hear what he's saying, and then you can go ahead and go ahead. Go ahead, Tony Stone.
So first, I'm gonna keep it brief. First, I want to address what you were saying about not being you quoted Platoon, I think, saying that nobody's a coward. There are no such thing as a coward. I wouldn't quite agree with that statement, but I would say that nobody can call you a coward if they weren't right there in that moment with you. Because the man said that he thought the shooting was coming from outside. Nobody knows what happened except for him, so you can't call him a coward. Unless you were there in the moment with him and you seen him tuck his tail and run.
Let me say
that was one point. My second point is you were talking about that police. They and I agree. Whatever. When I was in the military, I wanted to come home alive, no matter what I want to do. When I was in the streets, I wanted to come home alive, whatever, no matter what I was doing. So I understand that. But I do know that, despite what you said, that it's police policy, like, I don't know if you call it statutes or whatever, the regulate you guys disciplinary actions and whatnot. And I'm saying not within 6 months ago, an officer here in the city of Cleveland was brought up on charges, and the charges against him were cowardice and active duty. So even the police force recognized, in their disciplinary actions, recognizes cowardice.
There is coward and fair to do duties. There's laws for that also. But the problem is, as I go back to, and I said this earlier, labor relations, the United States government labor relations department has already said that an employer cannot tell an employee to do something that will cause him his life or serious physical harm. So you have a problem right there. And when I say this, and I go back to this, law enforcement officers are human beings of the community.
That's right.
They're not machines. That badge and gun does not make you Captain America.
True.
Okay? And when it comes to a life or death matter, okay, and I'm going to say this to everybody over the internet radio, that's why I love being on XM and internet and streaming through, is that you have to make that decision, Tom.
True.
And I'm going to say this, and that's a tough decision to make, okay?
It is.
And you can't take it lightly that you're going to die today.
And you also have to be smart. Like we were talking about on the break, when the shooting starts, you can't just go running towards the shoot. You have to be
when you hear those rounds
mindful.
from that AK or that AR, those are distinctive sounds.
But SAXMAN,
the only thing I want to say, Sean, before we branch off and take the caller is that it is just a job. They are backed by the Labor Act and whatnot. But it's a difference between going to work at the supermarket and signing your life and swearing oath to be a police officer. These are certain expectations that come with this job.
But there's certain expectations come with the job.
So what are you saying, Tom?
And this is the thing right here.
Well, yeah.
Right, but this is the thing right here, Tone. Let me say this. When you become a police officer, you know what you're getting up and signing up for. You know that one day the Bible says you're not supposed to take a life. But becoming a law enforcement officer, you know you're going to violate that commandment. You're going to either take a life or have your life taken.
Right.
Okay? So you know this. You know at one time in your life, you're going to have to use that gun. You're not carrying a gun, and you're not going to use it. Now, 99% of people go through the police force and go through their career, never use a gun. Some people use a gun 3-4 times, okay? Some people never pull it out of their holster.
Or if you shine L, you use it every time you go to
well,
work.
Well, there again, it takes a special person to be a police officer.
Shoot everybody in sight.
I know a gentleman, I'm going to say this in my 32-year career, and everybody else who's law enforcement officers there, I know sometimes you can go 32 years and come home alive. Sometimes you can't even go 3 months. Okay, and a very good friend of mine lost his life, wasn't even off probation yet, Anthony Johnson. He was shot at a bank robbery, okay? It depends on when the Lord make that call for you, okay? And when the Grim Reaper come, you cannot deny that fight.
Yeah, ain't no running and hiding.
Okay,
from it.
so let's keep it real. Those officers at Parkland made a decision. They have to live with that decision, like I said before. And
well, let's ask the caller.
Well, we're gonna go right there to that. Mike, the phone's back up. Mike is back with us from the land. Mike Davis, welcome to Stop the Madness.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike.
How are you guys?
We good, Mike.
Great.
I want to ask you 2 questions, Mike, and then we want you to go. The police officers that stood down, we know it was 4 of them now instead of 1. What's your opinion on it?
My opinion on that is that those officers, they did right by taking cover, but to make the statements that they didn't know where the gunfire was coming from. Actually, they were supposed to investigate and find out for sure where it was coming from. So in my opinion, they should have took all precautions, but approached that situation. They should have went in.
Well, let me ask you this question
I
too.
agree.
Since they didn't get the equipment that they was supposed to have, like the Kevlar vest to stop the round from that 223, or the helmet, and all they had was a .40 caliber. When that decision was made, do you think that a person has the right to make the decision whether they want to live or die?
Yeah, a person does have the right to make that decision whether or not they want to live or die. But like you said earlier, being a police officer, it takes a special person to be a police officer. You know what you're getting into.
Right.
You know the chances that you're going to have to take. Police officers are supposed to be men of valor.
Right.
You're supposed to go when you need to go with taking all precautions. Now, because they didn't, I mean, usually it's the departments responsibility. I want to say responsibility to provide vests for these officers.
Correct.
But I mean, they knew that they didn't have a vest, or either that individual knew that they didn't have a vest. Why didn't they have their own vest?
Well,
Hold on, I like this.
let me go back here. Let me play devil advocate with you again. Okay. Even if they had everything, he knew that there was a 98% chance that he wouldn't walk back out of that building. So he made a conscious decision not today.
He shouldn't be in that job.
Oh, I can understand what you said, but
I knew you were gonna say that.
But the problem here is, Mike. Okay, listen now. He's already in the job.
He shouldn't be in it.
Okay, they should have this should have been taken care of in the process of just like in the city of Cleveland. We have officers that the community said shouldn't be in the job, but they was there. Okay, now when you make that decision, just like that officer made the decision when they was dealing with Tamir Rice. Okay, are we going to second guess? Because let me recorrect that back.
All right, go ahead.
Let me put that back. The United States Supreme Court says that police officers does not have the right. Does not have to protect you.
You're talking Warren versus D.C.
Okay,
that's the Supreme Court ruling.
Right. So there you go. So we on the same page.
They don't have
okay.
a constitutional right.
They don't have a constitution. So
Warren versus D.C. States that police officers are not obligated to protect you as an individual.
Okay, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing at the school. Okay, because
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, because I'm gonna ask you this question, and I go back to this question, and it goes sitting down as the labor laws, and it go back down. When that shooting took place, that officer was there. He had his gun, and I'm pretty sure he heard that AR going off. Okay, and I'm pretty sure instead of a reaction, he had time to think about it. See, this is the difference what everybody don't understand about law enforcement. Law enforcement officers are react to things. Murders happen, we react to murders. Shootings happen, we react to shootings. It's very seldom we prevent anything unless we're going out there chasing drug boys or traffic, and we still react to whatever happens. Okay, that's why the city can never get in front of a problem. They're always behind the problem. Okay,
right.
So let me ask you this question. This officer decided, okay, and I would love to talk to him, but he decided, I'm not going in that building with an AR-15, and I don't give a shit what y'all say, and I quit. Okay? That's real life. That's just the way it is.
That's his right. He has that right.
Okay? Because you know what? He at that point in time, he made that decision. His wife and his family was more important to him, and he wasn't dying today.
Right.
And when you have to make that decision, Mike, and that's where I wanted to go to you with. When you have to make that decision, when that decision is thrust upon you, that's kind of hard.
Well, you know, I can see.
I truly understand that was the decision that officer made. Again, I'm going to stand by it. He should not be in that position. Now, hold on. Now, sure, we want to run in there like.
But Mike, Mike, let me say this. Now, I want you to put your Daddy Warbucks cap on, okay?
Go ahead, Mike. Show them what you
got.
Okay,
because you got a lot of people that say shoulda, woulda, coulda, don't make no stew, and the balls don't come in the soup. Okay, and you got a lot of people to sit there and tell you I'd have went in there and shot that whole damn school up, and I'd have still pulling out rounds, and he been pulling lead up out his ass, going all the way around.
Sean one of them.
Okay,
Sean's one of them.
Now, if you've been around and you've been looking at court cases, he's not the first person in law enforcement that have not done what his oath of office required him to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
and I know that you worked around plenty of people that have, and not even incidents that are this on this scale on this level. Okay, So everybody don't get to this level, but maybe once in their career. But I know you had a lot of people turn and run on you.
Oh, I've been in a situation.
Yep.
When I was a bail agent, enforcement agent.
Oh yeah.
Where I had some guys just leave me in the house by myself.
Okay, so you understand. So you understand the fear when something happens, you have to make that decision. Now, Now,
I do.
You know, and I want to go back to this because a lot of people earlier said they wouldn't ban the AR-15. Okay, and I want to go back to this earlier. Police departments and the community don't even want their police officers carrying AR-15s. Okay, so if you don't want your police officers and the people who's going to protect you carrying an AR-15, then why are you allowing anybody else to have one? Because you're putting everybody at a disadvantage.
From not having the proper tools, because firearms are tools in the right hand.
That's correct.
That's it.
Right. Go ahead. I'm listening.
So if you're not going to ban it, then you have to give all law enforcement officers access.
True. If they're talking about abandoning any type of firearm.
Well, not any firearm, the AR-15.
Okay, so we're just gonna stick with the AR-15. But oh my gosh, you can. I'm sorry, you could be killed with a knife.
But guess what?
Right, you gonna ban hammers?
You gonna? Are we going to
ban knives?
Are we going to ban automobiles, the drunk driver?
But wait a minute, Mike. Your
I like your points, Mike.
Mike.
I like his point.
Wait a minute, your point is good, Mike. But then there again, you have to have a license to drive. They ban you because driving is not a right. It's a privilege.
Yeah, you don't have to have
okay.
the right license.
Wait a minute, SAXMAN. Because wait a minute, SAXMAN. I'm gonna put you right here. I'm gonna put you on the spot too, SAXMAN. Because if you go back to this. There are rules and regulations for everything. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't if you're not 21. You can't go in a bar and drink.
Yeah, but you can go to the military.
Yeah,
but wait a minute. The difference is fighting for your. Wait a minute. Hold on. Fighting for your country. See, this is the problem with everybody in authority and carry a badge and guns do. So I want to come back. I want to come back to this here. Going into the military, fighting for your country. Everyone has to fight for their country. It is a difference between being here on 105th and South Boulevard, killing somebody, or going into a gun store. Okay. Now, if you was going to Iraq and you was fighting to preserve the Constitution,
we're talking about responsibility.
Okay. Responsibility comes a long way with a lot of factors, SAXMAN. Okay. Just because they say you're 18, you're a man. You're not a man at 18. You're not even thinking as a man at 18.
But at 18 in the Army, you considered a man a soldier.
But at 18 in the but 18 in the Army.
What Sean is saying, no, I gotta agree with Sean on that. At 18, we thought we were men, but we wasn't.
And at 18 in the Army, you still couldn't drink.
No, but you can shoot and kill somebody.
You couldn't shoot and kill nobody because in the Army, they have rules of engagement.
But if you on the front lines, you in a forward
have
area,
rules of engagement.
And if you in a forward area is like the front lines.
Lieutenant, SAXMAN.
You shooting, people shooting at you.
Wait a minute, SAXMAN. Let me ask you this question.
Tell them, at 18, if they drop your ass in Afghanistan, they put you in a forward area. You know what a forward area is?
You still have rules of engagement.
But they call down on the radio. You clear to engage because they use that. You clear to engage. You 18 going on 19 or whatever.
SAXMAN.
And you are clear to engage. They fire RPGs at your ass. What you gonna do?
SAXMAN.
I can't shoot. I'm 18.
SAXMAN.
I ain't mature enough.
SAXMAN. Do you understand?
You gonna do that or you can return fire?
I'm not sure. I'm not
certain
what the point you're trying to make.
The point is he's saying responsibility.
SAXMAN, slow down right there.
Go ahead.
Mike, I want you to be right here because
I'm here.
I'm right here because before we go off the air, I'm gonna give you the last word. But let me tell you this, SAXMAN. Do you understand what the Military Code of Justice is? Mr. Military Man.
You gonna tell me? Go ahead.
No. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. Every soldier, whether you're in the front line or whether you're in the heat of battle or whether you're doing anything, has to obey the military code of justice.
I understand that.
And there are
rules of
wait a minute,
engagement.
there are rules of engagement. And the rules of engagement
We're
says
talking about people.
wait a minute, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. I'm talking about anything because the rule of okay, but wait a minute, because they brought this here. The rule of engagement says, even in the military, that you do not harm civilians, even if civilians are in the way of your
We ain't
engagement.
talking about civilians. We're talking about a Afghan warrior.
Civilians be
firing
there. So-
RPGs at me.
So in your rules of engagement, SAXMAN, and this is what I want to go back
All
to write about the gun control and everything else. There are rules on everything. What I was saying,
We talking
Mike,
about
before
ISIS shooting at us.
SAXMAN jumped in and tried to jump over the radio.
I was watching that movie, Rules of Engagement.
Right.
I was just watching.
Sean
that.
always want to break my balls.
So,
Sean, he break my
so
balls.
when it comes to everybody, you have to understand there's rules on everything. Okay, and even at 18, again, I'm gonna say you're not thinking very clear, and you don't make good decisions at 18.
That's what we're talking about. Hold on, that's what we're talking about right now. These people are not following rules.
That's
That's
not
the whole
right,
point.
and people,
you can make all the rules you want, but if I want to go shoot up a school,
you're gonna go.
Exactly.
But the
Ain't
problem,
no
the
rules.
problem,
you don't have to be 18. The guy, the guy that was in Las Vegas wasn't 18. How old was he? He was a rich white man.
But wait a minute, Sax.
With an AR.
Sax, come back. The problem
All right,
is
go ahead.
this. The problem is this.
They won't
Just
follow the
because you're not going to follow the rules, we can make it harder for you. And my kid doesn't have to lose his life because I'm going to sit back and say, because you're not going to follow the rules, I'm not going to do anything.
That's not gonna. Do you honestly believe, Sean, that's gonna happen?
Yes, I believe this
if
time
someone
common
was-
sense gun control is going to come apart. And I do believe that just look at this, they had the background check on 3 major shootings. 3. Mike.
They wasn't criminal.
Mike, now let me explain it.
They
It was, Saxman. You don't do your homework.
No.
Mike.
The guy from Las Vegas was not a criminal. He was a rich
We're not talking about Las Vegas. I said the 3 last shootings. The church. Okay.
All right.
The church had the Air Force put in there his domestic violence conviction. He wouldn't have got a gun.
Okay.
This guy right here, at the Parkland shooting, had the doctor stated that he was in his care for mental health evaluation. He couldn't walk into Walmart, Dick's or whoever that was.
You know what you sound like
buy the gun.
right now, Sean?
Go ahead, say it.
You sound like Donald Trump.
And Donald Trump's right.
No. I'm talking about other things.
Without the orange skin.
When he accused immigration.
Yeah.
When an illegal alien killed the cop.
We're not talking about.
No, that's what you sound
He
like.
wants to build a
but
wall.
but we have prevention. See, this is the problem.
What I'm saying is, if a person said so, you say it make it harder for them.
When you walked into that door, listen. When the last 3 shooters walked into there to get their murder weapon, they went in and brought it legally. They didn't go and break in my house and steal it. They didn't. They went.
So, you honestly think of a person.
Let them go out.
Sick in the mind.
Let them go steal it. Let him go steal it. Why should I allow him to walk into a gun store and buy 5,000 rounds and a butt stop and an AR-15?
What I'm saying is,
let him go steal it. Let him go
hold on,
break
hold on.
in John John's house and steal it. There is a good chance if he breaks in John John's house to steal it, John John shoots his
my
ass.
whole point is, my whole point
can't
is,
believe Tone
you
was
can make
quiet.
the laws. You can. My whole
them-
point, you can make the laws.
They hashing out their.
But if you think it's gonna make your children safer, I don't think so.
Yes, it will.
I don't think so.
I truly believe it will. Because the last 3 shootings, 45 people right now would still be walking.
That's what I mean by you sound like Donald
But-
Trump.
and I'm
if we
glad-
would have had these
and Donald Trump is-
tougher immigration
Donald
laws,
Trump was right.
this cop wouldn't have got
Wait a
shot.
minute.
No,
Donald Trump was right. I'm gonna say this about 45, and I
I don't
haven't said this
believe
yet. When
Say about
when Cruz walked into Dick's gun store to buy that $800 weapon he used to kill 17 people, when they did that record check and it came back and said, "Cruz, get your ass out of here. You can't have this gun."
What was wrong with him?
Because he had mental health services.
And if they would have put that in the system, they would have saw it.
They would have saw it. He'd have never been able to buy the gun.
So
That's not saying
that's a whole different issue from what they're talking about.
No, it's not, because we're talking about laws and putting stuff in places to make my kids safe. Now, the gentleman that would I didn't say it would deter him. I said he wouldn't be able to get that
It would have made it
weapon.
harder for him to get a
It
weapon.
made it
I
harder.
agree with that. I don't. My
And the
thing
second thing is,
do not think your child is going to be
wait a
safe.
minute, and the second thing is this, John. John, the second thing is this. J Mac, the second thing is this. And Mike, you right there. Had the Texas shooter not had his AR, okay, he just brought that. He'd have never one shot the church up. Because you know why? When he was shooting the church up, when the neighbor across the street came out with his 45 and started returning fire, he dropped that AR and started running. Okay? So if he's going to get a gun, let him go out there and break in JJ's house. Let him go break in a gun store. Let him buy a gun on the street. Okay? Don't give it to him.
I'm not arguing that fact.
That's what I'm talking about, laws.
I mean, I'm really not arguing that
Mike,
fact.
you go get your last word. Go ahead. You got 30 seconds. Tell us something.
Well, you know what? It's all about mental health issues. Period. My wife worked in that field. My pastor mentioned something about it's all about mental health. Most of these people that are doing these shootings, they are suffering from mental health issues. My gun is not going to sit on the table by itself, and I look at it and say, okay, you get up and you go kill somebody.
But it'll talk to you like the dog did in Son of Sam. And on that note, right there, Tony Stone and everybody, hey, Facebook Live, and everybody, hey, the weather's out there. Be safe. Next week, I'm going to be off in New York. We're going to be in the sky. We'll be back next week, but it's that time.
Big is big, I can't lose. Sugar bow down, I'm the next to rule, but I'ma stay on the cool. Remain on the under, cause like Andre 3000, your boy's ice cold. Ain't no limit to the gimmicks and ways to make money. No limit to the just to act funny when you get that cake, cause you spit that way. They may love you tomorrow when they hate you today. But yo, that's the way the story goes, so I was told. Following the rainbow down the yellow brick road. Please believe at the end, ain't no pie to go. Just some platinum beats from the Cleveland streets.
Hey, everybody, we'd like to thank you right here. Tony Stone in Studio 51. We got J Mac and SAXMAN. We're running behind. It's on the top of the hour. Hey, we want to thank everybody for watching us. Facebook Live, YouTube. You can catch us on demand. And until next week, peace, love, and happiness.
Never giving it up, I made it all on my own. You ain't getting above. Shawty got it live with the players from K16. Yes. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You've been listening to Stop the Madness, Keep It 100 on STMK Radio 100.